Hi and welcome to Ali Lives Well on Less. I'm Ali, an early retired teacher, currently living well on my small teacher's pension. And today is a wide-ranging Wednesday, and as you can see from the title, I am just doing a wee knitting update on some of my projects. And it's very topical at the moment here in the UK and around the world as well. We have a bit of a controversial knitting programme, the first on our mainstream TV channels, Game of Wool. And yes, it's caused a bit of a strushy here in Scotland, especially with the whole Shetland Fair Isle stuff. So I'm not going to dwell on that other than to say that, as my previous knitting video said, knitting is my favourite hobby and it is one that I tend to do more in the winter, so the timing of this programme is quite good, but yes, sadly it's not quite hitting the mark, and there are loads of YouTube channels and loads of Facebook groups, and I'm sure there's stuff on Instagram as well that can talk about it. But yes, if you are a novice knitter and you thought watching this programme was going to inspire you, well, maybe not. It's maybe just for entertainment purposes, so I'm a wee bit disappointed in it, but I still love my knitting and I support lots of knitting channels here on YouTube. And today I thought I would just share a very quick update with a few of my projects, including a finished one. So I'll start off by showing you today. It's dark, cold and horrible here today in Stirling. It's very wet again. We've had a yellow warning. We've got a flood warning in place because we've got quite heavy rain, and Miss Luna and I have been soaked twice today already because hail, rain or shine, puppy dogs need walked. And yeah, so as we say in Scotland, there's no such thing as bad weather, only bad clothing. So we wrapped ourselves up and we were out in that. So I've got wet hat hair, so apologies. But I am wearing my chunky cardigan that I have talked about before. I'm going to leave some footage of a little bit more of a close-up, but this is a cardigan I knitted for myself. It's a made-up design. I made it up as I went along. It's by no means high fashion by any means. It was just using up different yarns that I had. I knitted it on one big long needle, circular needle, and yeah, it's just chunky yarns or yarns all doubled up and tripled up. And oh my goodness, today I am kneading my cardigan. Luna is not impressed. So again, this cardigan cost me nothing because all the yarn was leftovers, donated or unravelled projects from myself or my mum. So here's a better look at the cardigan. I've just laid it flat on the bed, and as you can see, it's pretty shapeless, but it's big and chunky and warm, and really that's all I wanted. And as I said, it's all chunky yarns. You might even recognise that one from the hat I made for myself to match my new coat. But yeah, didn't cost me any money at all leftover bits from projects and gifted stuff from my mum. And here's a close-up of the back of my cardigan jacket. It really is just very simple stocking stitch with the odd garter stitch thrown in and a little bit of fun yarn woven in. The sleeves, I now know I made them too long, but that's okay. And I do have a belt that I knitted to tie it on. So really the main reason that I am doing this is I'm going to share with you my sock yarn leftover blanket. And it's finished! Hooray! Finally. As I said in my last knitting video, I love knitting socks, and sock yarn comes in a ball of 100 grams, and I only need about 70 grams to knit myself a full size pair of socks. So you end up with lots of little leftover balls, and I just have knitted lots of squares in a basket weave, which is four knit, 4 purl, 4 knit, 4 purl for 4 rows, and then you change over to purl 4, knit 4, and then you get this sort of basket weave effect. And then one of the other things I have done recently is I have, inspired by my good friend Judy, who is a prolific crocheter, I taught myself to knit some granny squares. I would love to knit myself a cardigan with granny squares all knitted together. So I have been practicing my crochet, and I'll leave a link to the tutorial that I used to teach myself how to knit these crochet squares, because it's the best tutorial I have found. So I have tried to crochet many times over the years, and it explains why and how you do the bits to make sure that you've got straight edges, you go down corners, and you don't end up with a great big hole in the middle, and so on. So yeah, thoroughly enjoying knitting the crochet squares. And I was able to take that knowledge and I crocheted an edge to my crochet blanket. And I chose to do a crochet edging because frankly it's quicker than knitting one. And because I had mastered the art of the granny square, I've been able to do some lovely corners on my blanket, and I'm really, really pleased with it. So that is my sock yarn leftovers blanket finally finished. And I'm going to leave some footage of the blanket in its fullness. But I checked on Ravelry to see when I actually started this project, because it's been picked up and dropped several times over the years. Even though I still knitted a few squares, I didn't actually stitch them together for long periods of time. I started this blanket in 2010. So this has been 15 years in the making. So I'll insert some footage of the blanket spread out properly on the bed when I can get Miss Luna off. So here is the finished blanket laid out on my king size bed. And it's quite effective with all the different colours. And there's a close-up of my very amateurish crochet edging. It's just some triples into one space. And along the bottom, it worked out if I did it into each collection of 4 stitches. But up the sides I had to do every alternate one because it was just too stretchy and wibbly wobbly. But I'm really just delighted it's finished. Very colourful. So I still actually have lots of little bits of sock yarn left over. Now this is 4 ply, so it's really, really fine. And what I have done is I have started crocheting it into balls of yarn, and all I'm doing is I'm just doing a chain, a single chain stitch, and I have been adding on bits of all these different little balls and colours, and I'm making balls of random coloured yarns, and I'm going to use that in a future project. And Because it's the sock yarn, I am using a 3mm hook, which is again quite fine for the sock yarn. But it does mean I've probably created some double knitting or sport, I think it's called elsewhere, some sort of size yarn. And I'll probably make some sort of throw or blanket with that as well. So you know me, I don't waste resources. I will always find a way to use up leftover yarn, leftover fabric, leftover food. That's just me. I do not waste a single thing. So the last project that I am currently working on, I don't know if I've made a lot of progress since I showed you this the last time because I've been focusing on my blanket. But the baby blanket for my first grandchild due in March. Remember, you cast on one stitch and then you create a sort of sideways square. And I'm now at the decreasing stage again. So you start with one stitch and you knit it out and then you start decreasing, and then it's garter stitch, but it's turned round, and then I will pick it up round the edges and I'll do the Shetland lace inspired design round the edge. So that's a project that's been on the go for a wee while. Baby's due in March, so I've still got a couple of months to get it to get it finished. But my intention is to try and finish as many projects as possible by the end of the year, so that in January I can get started on my sewing journey again. So this is the progress so far on the fingerless gloves that I'm making to match my hat that goes with my new coat. So I meant to say that when I was talking about knitting a hat and fingerless gloves, when I was a teenager at school, I had a wee sideline in knitting fingerless gloves for my friends and some not friends. I do remember that I knitted a pair of fingerless gloves for a girl who, let's say, used to give me a hard time until she realised I could do her a favour, and then all was well after that. So, and that's the kindest way to describe that situation. But yes, I used to knit fingerless gloves all the time. I had a wee roaring trade on the side, but I couldn't find that pattern, so that was why I was talking about trying to work out a fingerless glove pattern in that video. And thank you to all the people that suggested places to go and look for advice. I think some people didn't realise that I am an experienced knitter. I'm not an expert, but I'm an experienced knitter. I have been knitting since I was very young. So if I can't find a pattern, I'll make up a pattern. If I can't find an exact thing, I will adapt it. So yeah, I do like my knitting. So my knitting projects are hopefully going to be finished by the end of the year, and then I can get started on my sewing projects. Now, once again, when I talked about making my own clothes, I have sewn my own clothes in the past. I know how to sew clothes. I just haven't done it for a long time. I'm of that generation where we learned at school, but I grew up in a household where my mum made a lot of our clothes when we were growing up, because in the 70s it was out of necessity rather than fashion. But now I would like to make my own clothes, to do my own bit for the environment, and also to make clothes that fit me, to fit my body. And that's really why I knit. I make things to suit me, and that's why I want to sew clothes in 2026. So finish all these projects, Ali. That is my target. Get them finished. As I have said before, I am very good at starting things. 15 years in the making. I'm not so good at the finishing off. So I am really trying my best to get them finished by the end of the year. So if you've made it all the way to the end of the video, thank you so much. As you can see, Luna is a tired puppy today, and she's going to get excited because I'm going downstairs now to do some cooking, so she likes to be at my feet just in case I drop stuff. So thanks for watching. I know that most of my regular viewers aren't interested in knitting, but it was interesting to me to see that my last video that I did on knitting has had over 4,000 views. So maybe this style of video appeals to a different type of audience. But if you're new here, thank you so much for watching my video. Knitting is only a small part of the many, many things that make up my lovely, quiet, retired life. So I will see you again on Foodie Friday, where we are talking turkey. And I have to say that I am really impressed with the turkey that I have been working with this week. So more on that on Friday. Wherever you are, stay warm, stay safe, and Luna and I will see you again. Thanks for watching. Bye.